Before starting the story, let us know where you're watching from and what time you're watching. The Icy Grave. Buried alive in a snowstorm, the wind howled like a grieving widow, carrying ice and sorrow through the desolate mountains. The blizzard had come without warning, swallowing everything in its merciless white grip. Somewhere beneath the suffocating layers of snow, Daniel Carter gasped for breath, his fingers numb, his heartbeat slowing. A trip into the wild. Daniel had always loved the wilderness. It was his escape from the suffocating routine of city life, from the sterile office where he spent most of his waking hours. When his friend Marcus suggested a weekend hike into the remote northern ridge, he agreed without hesitation. It's supposed to be the first big snowfall of the season, Marcus had said, excitement lighting up his eyes. Perfect for some real adventure. They had packed light but efficiently, thermal gear, emergency supplies, and enough food to last 3 days. The mountains were beautiful, draped in early snow, the air crisp and invigorating. They followed the trail, laughing and reminiscing about their college days, blissfully unaware of the nightmare waiting ahead. The storm hits. By the time they realized the storm was closing in, it was too late. The sky darkened, the wind roared, and the snow thickened, transforming the landscape into a white abyss. Their visibility dropped to almost nothing. They had no choice but to seek shelter. There, Marcus pointed through the blinding snow. A rocky overhang jutted out from the mountainside. They stumbled toward it, fighting against the wind's fury, every step draining their strength. They barely made it inside before the blizzard consumed the world outside. Snow piled up rapidly, sealing the entrance. The temperature dropped sharply, and an eerie silence settled inside the cave like space. "We just have to wait it out," Marcus panted, rubbing his hands together. "Storms like this usually pass in a few hours." But the storm didn't pass. It raged on, an endless fury of ice and wind. Their supplies dwindled, and hope began to wane. Buried alive. On the third day, they tried to dig their way out, but the snow had formed an impenetrable wall. Their radio was dead. Their bodies were weak. And then, the ground beneath Daniel gave way. A hidden crevasse, concealed by snow. He fell, tumbling into the icy darkness below. The last thing he heard was Marcus screaming his name before everything went black. The Icy Grave. When Daniel regained consciousness, he was alone. The cold was unbearable, creeping into his bones like death itself. His legs were trapped under chunks of ice, his breath coming in short, pained gasps. Above him, only darkness. He tried calling for Marcus, but his voice barely made a sound. Panic surged through him as he struggled, realizing the snow had formed a solid tomb around him. He was buried alive. Memories flooded his mind. His mother's laughter, the warmth of a summer day, the way the city lights glowed on rainy nights. "I don't want to die here." With what little strength remained, he began to dig. The fight for survival. It was a slow, agonizing battle. Every movement sent pain searing through his frozen limbs. He clawed at the snow, his fingers raw and bleeding. Hours passed, or maybe days. He had no way of knowing. At some point, he found something in the ice. Fabric. A sleeve. "Marcus!" He dug frantically, uncovering his friend's lifeless face, his eyes frozen open in terror. A strangled sob escaped Daniel's throat. His best friend, gone, and he was next. But something in him refused to accept it. He pressed his forehead against Marcus' frozen hand. "I'll make it out. For both of us." The light of hope. Just when exhaustion threatened to claim him, he saw it, a faint glow above. His frozen, battered hands reached for it, pushing through the last layer of ice. Air, light, freedom. He emerged from his grave, collapsing into the fresh snow, gasping like a man reborn. The storm had finally passed, leaving behind an eerie silence. Rescue came 2 days later. A search team found him wandering near the base of the mountain, half conscious, frostbitten, but alive. He told them about Marcus, about Crevasse, about the storm's wrath. He never returned to the mountains after that. The wilderness had taken enough. But sometimes, in the dead of winter, he still heard the wind whispering Marcus' name.